Welcome to the documentary from the BBC World Service, where we report the world, however difficult the issue, however hard to reach. Podcasts from the BBC World Service are supported by advertising.
I had this secret. I robbed banks in my spare time.
Lives Less Ordinary from the BBC World Service.
This is not a good thing to do because police are after you.
Find out more at the end of this podcast.
Ось вечірній Київ. Понеділок.
A voice that a couple of months ago few recognised is now unmistakable.
The war of Russia is not only the war against Ukraine. Its meaning is much wider. Russia is trying to defeat the freedom of all people in Europe, of all the people in the world.
Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's president, has led his country's fight back against Russia's invasion. Comforting the war's victims, berating Ukraine's enemies, demanding more from her allies.
The President Biden, I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
A war that was expected to last days is now into its third month. Russia's advance has stalled, and in places it's been pushed back. President Zelensky is now being lauded as the man of this moment.
I think your leadership has been extraordinary.
But it wasn't always like this. Before the Russian attack, questions were being asked as to whether Zelensky, a former comedian, really had what it takes to lead Ukraine. I'm Jonah Fisher, and this is Zelensky, the making of a president, on the BBC World Service.
Hello, hi. Hi, Jonah, hi. Nice to meet you. This is Alex, the cameraman. Volodymyr, do you mind if I put this radio mic on you?
I first met Volodymyr Zelensky back in January 2019. He was then a well-known comedian and actor, relaxed, jokey, but a big celebrity here in Ukraine. It was the start of his political journey and a fascinating time for me as the BBC's correspondent in Ukraine. I've had a front row seat as Zelensky has gone from political novice to leading Ukraine's fight for survival in the war against Russia.
Happy birthday, Oscar.
Thank you.
Do you know we're almost the same age? I'm about to be 41 as well. But, unfortunately, I'm not ready for president.
Who knows? Nobody knows.
It's the 25th of January 2019, and I'm with Volodymyr Zelensky on his 41st birthday. As fate would have it, it also happens to be the official birthday of one of the most extraordinary stories in modern politics. In the centre of Kiev, Ukraine's most famous comedian and actor has just signed the papers to officially become a candidate for president. None of us journalists are quite sure whether we're part of a joke that we've not been let into, or whether it's something more sincere. It's an issue that Zelensky is quick to address.
This was not some kind of advertising trick. I'm a man of my word, and if I've decided to do something, I will do it. This is no fake.
As it turns out, for perhaps the first time in his life, Zelensky was being serious. But asked to spell out his policies, well, it all seemed a bit vague. On Ukraine's existential issue, Russia, he seemed, for example, to think that foreign investors might deter an attack.
This will be a strong defense. No Russians will attack us if we have strong foreign companies which will defend our territory with us.
The starting gun had been fired on the election campaign, but Zelensky was still making TV shows. We went with him back to the offices of his production company, Kvartal 95, for a look behind the scenes. As is the case now, Zelensky speaks some English, but also prefers, at some moments, to use Russian or Ukrainian.
So this is where you plan your comedy shows?
Yes. Not only comedy shows.
everything on TV. We have documentary, dramas, movies. We have two big satire shows, politics satire. The first stage, when we create the ideas. The guys are sitting here. They are the chiefs of different groups. So we have many script writers, different humor. They speak about the ideas, and I'm the decision maker.
So you're deciding whether their ideas are funny or not?
Yes. Our audience, especially TV audience, yes, it's a little bit older than, for example, movie audience is in feature films.
So what sort of humour do people like here? If you were to compare it to British humour...
we love British humor. But, for example, if compared in Britain, our people, they more understand, for example, Mr. Bean or Benny Hill.
Benny Hill?
Yes.
Really? So you're looking for sort of Benny Hill, Mr. Bean type jokes?
Yes.
Rather than the more kind of surreal Monty Python stuff?
Yeah.
For almost 25 years, I only thought about him as a comedian, professional comedian, a good one, quite popular in Ukraine, but nothing more.
Yeremeduk is a political consultant and used to work for Zelensky's predecessor as president, Petro Poroshenko. I caught up with him in Lviv.
In Ukrainian entertainment business, Volodymyr Zelensky was a huge star. I think he had like 95% plus of recognition among average Ukrainians. So I would say that everybody knew him.
Всем привет, дорогие друзья. Я Volodymyr Zelensky. Я подарил свой...
He was a big star, but Zelensky's humour wasn't particularly sophisticated, as Yaroslav Gritsak, a historian at Lviv's Catholic University, told me.
I would say that most intellectuals would not hear or listen to him that much. It was much broader public.
It's got what kind of smutty jokes?
Some of them very smarty, and some of them even say you wouldn't show you to your kids under 18, so to say. One of them is probably one of the most recognizable, when he was totally nude playing on the piano. And you could imagine with what part of his body. He covered a very wide spectrum, so to say. But the point is that some of the jokes were extremely crude.
Crude?
Yeah. And therefore his enemies, his opponents, they used to show this clip as a proof that he is not capable to do any kind of political activities.
Zelensky's movies and sketch shows made him famous, but one role, more than any other, paved the way for his presidential run. This is the opening titles of the Servant of the People TV show. As the music rolls, the character played by Zelensky is riding his bicycle through the streets of Kiev.
He made a TV sitcom where his hero was a simple young teacher of history who was sick and tired of the politics, and he decided to go to power, and he became a president. So before he became a real president, he was president on TV, and people liked this image very much.
Василий Петрович Голобородько?
Да.
Доброе утро, господин президент.
Vasily Goloborodko, the character Zelensky played, was everything that Ukraine's real presidents hadn't been up to this point. Taras Stadnitsky is a peer of Zelensky from Ukraine's comedy circuit.
Дивлячись на сам серіал,
watching the series, people saw and embraced a type of president who's young, not corrupt, and able to make dramatic changes.
When I interviewed Zelensky in early 2019, he had a refreshing frankness.
Do you think people might vote for you because they believe that you're going to be the same as that president that they've seen in the TV series?
Конечно же, они хотели бы видеть в президентах такого человека.
Of course, people would like to see a president like Vasily Goloborodko with the same moral values. Secondly, this is a response to the establishment. People want something new and want someone with a human face, not a plasticine one, which changes with the questions and tasks in front of him.
With the benefit of hindsight, there are even those like Taras Stadnitsky who wonder whether the Servant of the People TV show was created with a real presidential run in mind.
Я не знаю, чи ми будемо знати хоча б колись.
I don't know if we will ever find out if the TV series was originally created with a view to Zelensky becoming president, or if this idea appeared during the process as people watched the series and their trust in the character grew. Did Zelensky then think about running for president? I'm personally very curious. In my opinion, this plan emerged during the process of making the series.
Zelensky's political party is called Servant of the People, just like the TV show, and Olena Shuliak is now the head of the party. When she entered politics, she tells me she hastily binge-watched the TV series as research.
I watched Servant of the People in order to understand him better as a person.
Are there many similarities between the real President Zelensky and the TV president?
I think the similarity between Zelensky and the character he plays is that they both want to change the existing order, build the country of their dreams, and move as quickly as they can towards the aim they set themselves.
In Zelensky's sketch shows broadcast in prime time, he lampooned Ukraine's political class. With Zelensky having jumped in the political deep end, the election campaign that followed was unlike anything Ukraine had seen before. Zelensky held no rallies, and his messages were entirely communicated through slick videos of him working out and hanging out. It was all rather like an extension of his TV show.
It was quite surprising that the man who's on the stage feels like at home, he hardly campaigned. He gave no interviews. It was super hard to see him on some public rallies. He only shoot videos, posted it online, and the rest, it was the work of his team.
The less Zelensky did, the more popular he became, and when the time came to vote, he was odds-on favourite. I grabbed a word with him as he entered the polling station.
Hi, how are you doing? Are you ready to be president? I don't know. The people will decide it in the evening. I'm ready.
That night, Ukraine's political earthquake was confirmed. Zelensky had won by a landslide.
So there we have it. Fact will follow fiction. Ukraine's television president is now going to become this country's real president.
The margin by 73% to 26% was particularly galling for President Poroshenko, as his former advisor Yeremeduk explains.
I think that President Poroshenko team expected to see some other old politicians who they were familiar with, but to be defeated by the guy who literally were like joking about you a year before, that's unbearable.
For some reformers like Hannah Hopko, who became an MP in 2014, the triumph of a completely unknown quantity like Zelensky was hard to comprehend.
In 2019, I was very sad. It was like a tragedy, knowing that Zelensky could become a president of Ukraine, country which faced Russian ongoing aggression. So I was really afraid, chairing the Foreign Affairs Committee, having access to classified information, and just understanding that Zelensky could become a president of Ukraine. But then I met my spiritual friends, and they told me, like, Hannah, please, let's trust God. Because I trust God that He has a special purpose for Ukraine in the 21st century. So let's see.
In his address to Parliament immediately after having been sworn in, Zelensky focused on what had been his number one election promise: to end the war with Russian-backed forces in eastern Ukraine.
Задля того, щоб наші герої більше не гинули, я готовий на все.
To make sure our heroes stop dying, I would do anything. I'm definitely not afraid to make difficult decisions. I'm ready to lose my popularity, my ratings, and if necessary, I will not hesitate to lose my job to bring about peace.
At the time, Zelensky seemed convinced that his personal touch and a meeting with President Putin could break the deadlock. Here's Professor Gritsak again.
He basically believes